What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 136 of Value Town. I'm ChanManV, and joined by lots and lots of people today. But of course, with my co-host Alliestrasza. What's up, Allie?
Hello, I'm doing well.
Good, good. I don't know why Raven just like blew up. Like you just got bigger all of a sudden on
my thing's
camera.
gone.
Man, so I'm gonna have to adjust that. But welcome to the show, Raven, who hasn't been on the show for 2 or 3 months now. What's up, buddy?
I'm good. My hotel internet's doing terrible though, so I might actually stop my video and just go in voice if that's cool.
Okay, I mean that's cool too if you want to do that.
We didn't last long. Yeah, we didn't last long. Let me go in voice.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay. Oh no, you like totally
Oh, I'm
swapped.
sorry.
Oh,
I'm broken.
no. Oh no. Okay, that's okay. I'll totally fix it in a second. But definitely welcome to the show. How's casting right now? You're over in APAC, right?
Yeah. I'm over. I'm in LA doing. We've got APAC this weekend, so I've actually got to adjust my time zone, my sleep schedule somehow, and the next day or so. So that's actually going to be awesome. I look forward to APAC. But yeah, casting's good. Very busy. HCG finals at Gamescom was awesome.
Yes.
So yeah, got a lot coming up and a lot going on. It's great.
Awesome. And welcome back, buddy. We had you obviously after the last HCT season, the championship or whatever. But it's good to have you on again to talk about some nerfs. How you doing, man?
Thank you. It's good to be here, man. These nerfs got me a little excited, so it's good to be here and talk about them.
Only a little excited, dude.
Don't say you're excited about the nerfs.
I know you're not allowed to say that.
Yeah, I hate everything that happened, and yeah.
How much is Blizzard paying you, Anne, to say you're excited about the nerfs?
Wow.
I can't say. Wait, I wasn't supposed to say that part.
Now you're gonna be out of the pro fraternity now. You know, it's just not allowed now. Okay, well, anyways, guys, as you can tell, we're gonna be talking about the nerfs today. Given that there were huge nerfs announced just a couple days ago or yesterday. It was early yesterday, actually, right? Or yeah, it was early yesterday. Man, the days this last week at PAX, just I don't even know what days are anymore. But yeah, so lots of stuff, or at least 5 big changes that we're going to be talking about, obviously affecting a lot, you know, with the meta and things. Obviously our week, what we've been doing, HCT Europe, or at least the prelims happened. Raven obviously casted it, so go over that. We've got Smilestone this week, yay! We've actually got a little bit of Smilestone, so everybody that's missed Smilestone, yeah, look forward to that.
This is me playing around Smilestone.
Oh, no, we have to turn it on. We're going to turn on your video.
Okay.
Oh, no, actually.
You can't get out of this like that.
Yeah, you can't do that, man. That's not fair. And then we got some Mekkatorque's workshop. We had a bunch of you guys email us a bunch of custom cards you thought would be cool. And so we got like 6 of them or 7 of them. Some of them Disco Lock related, others just generally. So we'll take a look at that. If you have any cards or any questions for Q&A, go ahead and send those to valuetown@chanmanv.tv. Will they get to them this week or next week? But you know, just send them anytime during the week, and we usually try to figure out which ones are the best ones and put them on the show that week. But let's start off, guys, with our week in Hearthstone. So this is the segment, if you haven't seen Rally Town before, where we talk about what we've been doing Hearthstone-wise this last week. And I can tell you I haven't been doing that much, given that I was at PAX. But I'm sure you guys were doing a bunch. So why don't we start with Allie? What have you been up to?
Yeah. I've been playing a lot of Frost, Lich, Jaina, Control, Medivh deck.
Oh, that sounds fun, dude.
I was worried. Yeah, no, it's been a really fun deck. Ant and I we did a co-op together and we were playing it, and yeah, I've really been enjoying it. It's got Medivh in there. It's obviously got Jaina, Alliestrasza. You know, it's been working relatively well. I feel like I mean I put a Geist in there so that you kind of have a chance against the Jade Druids, because obviously if you don't have a chance. But yeah, no, it's been a good deck. Really been enjoying it.
Oh, that's cool, because in terms of the I think we lost you. Shoot. At least we lost Raven. Great.
Oh, damn. I'm here. My thing crashed.
It's okay.
Frost Queen Alliestrasza.
We got Frost Queen Alliestrasza. You're right. No, I mean, since it wasn't since like day one that I've played the Frost Lich Jaina decks. So I haven't gotten a chance to try it out, but I have played against a few, and man, that Baron Geddon is something that I just did
Yeah,
not
that's
expect.
the best thing about that deck.
It's so awesome.
Well, the best thing is about it is Frostless Jaina's emotes. They're actually just the best.
Oh, are
yeah.
they? I didn't
Close.
even know that.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
Sir Threaten says bow to your queen. I can't stop doing it.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I didn't even realize that. That's so good. Oh, man.
Yeah, she definitely got the best emotes, I think, by far, for the Death Knights. But no, it's been a really, really, really fun deck. The Baron Geddon is a little mini Reno sometimes.
Right.
It feels great.
Okay. Let me show the deck here in a second. Just want to pick some of these camps before we do. Sorry about that, guys.
It's okay. Now it just looks like
production, NA production. Yeah.
Production value, fail fish.
Yes.
It looked like Alliestrasza was just giving me a lovely look then on those double photos.
Yeah, like she's still giving you the look right there. She's
Exactly.
Dude, that's favorite pick, dude. If you've never been on Value Town, you know if you have camera issues, then it's at your own risk because I get to choose whatever picture I want to show of you. So that's the penalty people incur. But anybody else play? I think Ann, you were saying you played some Mage this week, right? Or you guys did a co-op stream at one point. I remember seeing some of that.
Yeah, I've really only played the same deck. I don't know. It's just too much fun for me.
Do you have Syndragosa in yours?
I tried it. It's not very good, but it's very fun.
Okay.
Feel
It's
in the
not
mirror.
very good, but it's very fun. That's okay. That's all that matters, right? What's the best thing you've gotten from Syndragosa? Because I haven't gotten anything so good yet.
Rotface?
Rotface.
I think.
Oh, Rotface. Yeah. Okay, that's a good one. I mean, it's
I got
any legend,
Tyrion
right? Oh, Tyrion.
Oh yeah, Tyrion's good.
and Antonitis. Both.
In one
the
game?
same-
Oh.
Yeah,
And
in
two
one
water
game.
elementals.
One after another.
That's the
It was
dream right
insane.
there, man. That's totally the dream.
Yep.
Okay, well, good stuff here. Yeah, I mean, look at the deck. This is definitely really, really cool deck. With Medivh, what do you usually hit with Medivh? Do you kind of wait until you, let's see, I guess wait until you're just basically hitting Fireland portals, trying to save those up, or?
Blizzard, Firelands Portal.
Yeah.
Usually those two.
Okay. Yeah, no Cabalist Tome in this one, right? So get some possible crazy Pyroblasts or anything like that.
Nah, you got glyphs though.
No, we just want more polymorphs so we can make more water elementals.
Exactly.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's true. Raven, play any of this deck or this kind of deck?
I messed around with it a little bit, with the Geddon and such, but I was kind of surprised that I was actually right about something when we saw the cards get spoiled. Everyone was talking about, oh, how good is Elemental Jaina going to be? How good is this and that? And I was like, don't you just put Jaina in like the freeze hybrid mage? It's just like one slot.
Yep.
And then people did, and it works. I'm like, yeah, that's like once.
You know what you're
I
talking
was
about.
right.
Yeah, I was like,
What?
I've waited for 3.5 years of Hearthstone for this moment.
That's what we all
It's
live for.
glorious.
Oh, man.
But
so
yeah,
good.
I played a good chunk of Mage, but I've been really focusing on Warlock at the moment and Priest.
Oh yeah.
Priest is
Oh, it's time.
Shadow
It's
Reaper
time for the
is my bro.
priest, boys and girls.
Yeah.
It's gonna be.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll talk
It's
about
great.
that in a second for sure.
No, Hunter, that's not the Raven I know.
well, I think Hunter's gonna make a comeback post patch, and I'm gonna make it happen. Promise.
Okay. All right. Good stuff.
You heard it here first, guys. Right?
Yeah,
Making it
you
happen.
definitely did. I think there's something there too. I think we were talking about last week, right? Allie just Jackie and the Hunter deck that he was showing. But in terms
It's
of
got potential for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But in terms of this deck, I think this deck's going to get more important and more popular once Ice Block does finally get put in the Hall of Fame, which there's nothing been confirmed. There's definitely hasn't been a confirmation of it, but all signs tell me that come March, it's going to be going somewhere else. And if that's the case, then obviously healing and things like that are going to be so good for Mage, or at least a mode of flexibility for Mage. And this is the best way to do it, right? With Elementals and the Frostlich Jaina.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this deck still will suffer without Ice Block, though. I mean,
Okay.
Have you not heard the plan that everyone wants to do? The community is going to get together,
Oh, boy.
and basically, because we're presuming Ice Block's going to get, Hall of Famed, which is
Right.
normally next year, right?
Right.
None of us play tournaments with Ice Block, and then Blizzard will think it's not that good and not move it. Boom! I know. And then we get ice block for at least another year. It's the grand plan, guys. Run with it. Run with it.
You know what's so funny about Hall of Fame? It's like when something gets retired to Hall of Fame, that's supposed to be a good thing. You know, like you're supposed to like play your entire career to achieve the Hall of Fame, and you know these cards, you know, are so. I guess that you would think like Hall of Fame would be deemed, this is like one of the greatest cards ever made, right? Unfortunately, that's not the case in Hearthstone. These are like the biggest.
Just call it the graveyard.
The graveyard, exactly.
The graveyard.
We should call it the Grave of Fame. That's what we should totally call it. Oh man. Okay. Well, anyways, this deck, guys. I know we're starting a little bit early with our deck of the week, but we skipped deck of the week last week because I was gone at PAX. We're gonna start back up. Assuming that no hurricanes like destroying my house at the time, so that we can do it on Monday.
Yeah.
But we'll be doing we're gonna try our best to do deck of the week this week, and it will be this deck. So if you haven't played it, if you might not have Frost Lich Jaina yet, go and get it if you don't, so that you can participate. Those of you wondering what deck of the week is, it's something that we do every week, where we post a deck on the Patreon page. So you don't actually have to be a patron to participate in it. You can go and play it. Let us know how you do. But if you want to be a guest on our little mini, like 20-30 minute show that we do on Mondays, then you do have to be a patron. It's just something kind of special that we do for them. But overall, people love it. People love it when we can give them a deck to play instead of them having to go and look for one. And you'd be surprised how hard it can be for a lot of people to find even net deck. Everybody thinks net deck is so easy, just go on Reddit, but it can be tough for other folks too. So for Value Town fans and everything, we just try to make one for them. So give it a try, guys, and we'll talk about it on Monday. But there's actually big news for Allie this week, or just at least today, right? That was announced.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about that?
So today, everyone found out that I and Jackie, who is in Ibiza right now, we didn't mention that, but he's on holiday in Ibiza.
Yeah.
We are participating in this event called Oktoberbrawl. Basically, to sum it up, there are two teams, Team Void and Team Light. I am on Team Light, and that consists of Crip, Reynad, and myself, and Team Void is Dog, Ties, and Jackie. And long story short, it's if you have Twitch Prime or Amazon Prime, you can redeem a card back. And so basically how it works is we're all starting with a fresh account. It's going to be like a free-to-play fresh account, and we're going to get a set amount of packs per week. And if you win a ranked game with a certain card back, like the Team Light card back or the Team Void card back, will get more packs throughout the week if you win that ranked game. So if you want to support me, you'll equip that card back and try and win with that card back for the entirety of the event, which is a month. So that's basically how it works. Yeah, it's really cool.
So they can tell what card. Okay, so they're going to be just purely basing it on the card back you're using. Oh, these card backs look pretty similar, man. I'm gonna have to make sure I'm like doing I'm definitely on the right one. Okay, it's gonna be okay. Oh man, I'm gonna have to choose.
Who are you gonna go for?
I have to
Me or
choose
Jackie?
Between you guys? That's not right. That's like totally not right. I'm gonna have to do half the time on Team Void and half the time on Team Light.
There you go.
I'm just sticking with my championship card back.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Whichever team that wants to win should hope I don't pick their team, because I am the worst at picking the winners for HCT so far.
Okay. All right. Well, then pick Jackie.
Okay, pick Jackie. All right.
But then he gets more packs.
That's true.
That's true.
Anyway, so that's the event. Support, whoever you want to support, and that means we get more packs, more cards. Obviously, means bigger, higher chance of winning. So
right. All right. Cool. And that starts. It looks like Wild Week,
the
11th through 15th. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting. So weekly. Oh wow. 10 packs each for Goblins versus Gnomes and the Grand Tournament. Cool. That's man, it's just Blizzard again giving away some more free packs in a kind of fun way. So this is maybe one of those fun events that they were talking about.
To us only though.
Oh yeah, only to you guys. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we should
With
be
the
able
new
to get some
account
too. Dang it.
You get card backs.
We get 2 sweet card backs.
Yeah, true.
the main event will be like at TwitchCon, like the ending event. And basically, I forgot to mention this, every Friday there's going to be a grudge match between the teams, and whoever wins will basically penalize the other team some way at that final event at TwitchCon.
Okay. So like penalize them, meaning like tie their hands behind their back, or like blindfold them? Like what are we talking about here? Like,
Chop an arm off.
I don't know what the penalties are. I don't know what the penalties are.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. Definitely a lot of fun.
Dog has to play without a shirt.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, there you
oh
go.
my God, man. Yes.
Okay, we will definitely win, and we will definitely make this happen.
Perfect.
Oh my God, that will happen one day. Dog will eventually fulfill everybody's the Hearthstone community's fantasies by doing that.
Oh, God.
It will be amazing. It will be amazing. He should just do a charity drive for it, man. Like totally. I want to know how much money he could raise with just taking off his shirt.
That's
God,
actually a
that'd
really good idea.
Be crazy.
That is a great idea.
Yeah.
And it's literally just a slow-mo of him just taking his shirt off. And that
You know what
is
it's
all
gonna
in.
be like? It's gonna be Crypt pushing the freaking disenchant button or whatever. It's like, oh, there it was, guys. And it crashes.
It broke.
Yeah, dog's shirt just ends up malfunctioning somehow. Okay, well, that sounds like a lot of fun. Hopefully, everybody will participate in that, and try to get your favorite influencer and team to win. And now, Allie being obviously the number one, right? Since Jackie's
Obviously.
here. Yeah,
Jackie's not here.
since Jackie's here. But okay, let's talk about the big news. The big news is nerfs. Oh gosh, huge nerfs. And let me just show them. So big nerfs to cards that, man, the community have been asking for a long time, and some that the community's been asking for just in this release. So the cards that were announced that were nerfed are Innervate, Fiery Waraxe, Murloc Warleader, Spreading Plague, and Hex. So let me show this real quick, and then we'll start talking about it. Okay, so here are the cards, and you can kind of see the different changes. I thought the best thing to do was just kind of like have one of us just kind of lead off the talk about a certain card, and then we would just kind of, the rest of us would kind of just jump in with whatever we want to add on to it. So Raven, you're going to start us off. You're the lucky one. You're getting
Yay.
So Innervate.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so basically Innervate has been turned into a coin or counterfeit coin, whatever you want to call it. It only gains 1 mana, and this is a bigger deal than I think a lot of people are actually presuming it is, which is weird. Used to aggro druid when they innovate out bird a lot of the time, and also innovate into ramp is kind of ridiculous. So you look at Innervate on turn 3 into Nourish for crystals is effectively still a 2-mana turn on turn 3.
Yep.
And you gain so much ramp from it. It's insane. Whereas if you think now, there's like, it would have to be Wild Growth on 2 into Coin Innervate, and then you still, that's a big ask. And then you've not done anything turn 1 either, probably. So that's actually... This nerf is huge. A lot of people are crying about Ultimate Infestation. There's actually nothing wrong with that card. It's completely fine for a 10-mana card. But this Innervate stops the dumb things happening, which is, I think, where a lot of these nerfs have come from. No, you get what I mean, right?
Yeah,
like
I know
Innervate Hydra in aggro druid.
It's RNG feeling. Yes, I know what you mean by that. Yeah.
It's just dumb. So yeah, I think this is a huge change. I think this is a really good change. Hashtag Blizzard sellout. And I think this won't necessarily. Oh, Jade Druid is never going to be played. Of course, it's going to be played. It's going to be powerful, but it's not going to be as dumb and as unwinnable as some games can be with this card. Like innovate into 8. Ramp into 8. Innovate into Ultimate Infestation just won't happen. So yeah, I think this is good. I think it's going to notch Druid down a fair bit, both aggro and Jade and whatever. And yeah, looking forward to seeing it happen.
It knocks everything down about Druid. Ramp, aggro, Jade, but clearly all of those decks were, for the most part, tier 1 or tier 2. So they all needed to be brought down a notch.
I feel like it hits aggro druid a little bit more, just because
I agree. Totally.
Their big thing is they can just dump a ton of guys with Innervate, right? Like
turn ones, guys, when they have three minions on the board that have been Power of the Wild. Yes, Yeah, those turns
Also-
suck,
Yeah.
guys.
Also, as well, the post living mana turn, Innervate is normally pretty good there
Oh,
as well
yeah.
to gain the extra
Oh,
mana,
God.
so that won't happen. So it's great though because Innervate, for me, whenever it's used to do something like that, just is annoying, right? It just feels dumb. It's not skillful to be like, yeah, I drew Innervate Nourish, I win. You know,
Yeah,
like
true.
it's not cool, it's not fun. So yeah, it should fix a lot of
Like,
issues in my opinion.
This kind of like mana ramp has also been pretty powerful in other card games as well. So it's kind of it took a long time to get there where we finally nerf Innervate, but at least we got there.
Yeah.
I think it's probably like for the best. People wanted Innervate nerf since before I can remember, like back since 2014. Because like I don't know, it was really powerful, right? You can play your 6-drop on 4 or 3. Yeah, because if you wild growth on 2, like I don't know, it's just insane.
Well, the thing is that Innervate has, one of the reasons why it hasn't changed in my eyes, like one of two things. First off, I don't think they wanted it to just be an earthy coin. Like that's just kind of boring, just having it be an earthy coin, right? So
Yeah.
I think they probably wanted it to be different than the coin for first off, and then secondly, I think it's always just been Druid defining this card. Like there's no other card that defines Druid more than
Right.
Innervate does historically. You could say
I
maybe
think
Wild
as well.
Growth,
Yeah.
but
Wild Growth.
nothing else, right? So I think that's been one of the reasons too that's been hard, and they've designed around this card for the longest time too. So
Yeah, I think it's also something I actually didn't mention in the breakdown is they did look at other options. So one option I thought was the best one to pick was that it refreshes mana crystals instead of gains them.
Yeah.
And there are a few other things you can do, but to be fair, this is a base card. You get everyone gets it. So and all the base cards are actually pretty straightforward and uncomplicated.
Mhm.
And I although don't always agree with Blizzard's like outlook on how dumb the average player of Hearthstone is, I think that at least they have.
All right, you're
they
not
have
helping your
something
cause,
to
Raven,
work
by
towards,
by saying that,
Oh.
man. Because like, are you serious? Refreshing a mana crystal is too hard to understand.
Wow.
Okay,
I mean,
okay. Well, I'll
really?
say it.
I mean, are we seriously saying that?
Okay, how many people and chat come with me, or is this on my own? Have they turn 8, innovate Kun, and then wanted to ultimate infestation and realized they couldn't because it only goes up to 8? Like refreshing mana crystals is something that is barely in the game,
Yeah.
so it's a little bit tricky. People might not understand it. I think Hearthstone players aren't that great on average, so
Okay.
there you
all
go.
right.
Bring the hate, team.
Yeah.
Bring the
Bring
hate.
the hate. Allie, what do you think of Innervate?
See, just to mention that I want it to be complicated, honestly,
Yeah.
which is a little different. Honestly,
I think
I do
everybody
feel
does.
like I do think this is the best option because I sort of liked the refresh as well, but I wasn't content with that because I kind of still wanted to be able to go up. You know what I mean? If you're on turn 4, you still want to be able to play a 5-drop. So I feel like this is probably the best option. I'm still not 100% content with it because Innervate was such a staple, but the card needed to be nerfed. And so I feel like this is the best happy medium. I don't like how people are comparing it to, oh, well, Coin's good in Rogue, and I'm like, well, yeah, of course Coin's good in Miracle Rogue. I feel like it's different. Rogue can benefit more from the coin than I think Druid can, but overall, I feel like this will help balance out the power level of ramping. So I'm relatively content with this nerf.
I also want to tie it to Infestation, where I think Saiyan did a stream yesterday looking at stats from Infestation, and if you ever played, I think the win rate was like 70% if you played Ultimate Infestation before 7. Yeah, or 7 or before. Yeah, so like nerfing Innervate stops that, or at least helps stop that. So,
Oh, massively.
Yeah, definitely.
Because if you didn't innovate out on 5, you innovated into ramp to get it there, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
one way or the other, it happened.
I mean, we're talking about very specific scenarios, where Innervate's bad, but overall, what I'm excited about this change with Innervate is just how it affects their ability to design Druid now. When you have a card that gives you 2 extra crystals in a turn, it is so limiting. Like I'm even surprised they created Flappy Bird, because of this card, and even other things like Oh, yes. What were some of the cards? Even just like the Hydra, right? And or
Yeah.
Bitter Tide
Well-
and cards like that. Even in the past when we had giant cards like that, it was always
Well, I think-
super strong because of Innervate.
I think as well. Look at Crypt Lord, right? It's a Druid 3-drop, right? But if that's only one attack,
Yeah,
obviously
3-drop.
it gains the health. If that was any more powerful, like a smidge more powerful, then we have just a secondary Druid specific Flappy Bird. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it is that strong. If it was just a tiny bit stronger, but yeah, they basically can't design strong 3-drops for Druid if this card continues to exist, which sucks. Like you don't want that in the game, right?
And that's probably one of the reasons why the Beast Druid has been held back so far. You know, and it's not saying that Beast Druid's that interesting anyways, but it is something that they've invested cards into, and it just hasn't gone anywhere. You know, so and this I think has a lot to do with it, just because they can't create really strong early cards because of it. I'm excited.
So-
That's the one thing I'm excited about, is that I'm very interested to see what they come out with after this.
So the question is, do you guys think that Innervate will still be played in Jade Druid?
Yeah, that's the
like,
next
do you think
question.
people
Yep.
are still going to include it?
Yeah, you need to innovate Outspreading Plague on 5 now.
Because I sort
true.
of think that it won't.
Very
I think
I'm
with Jade Blossom and Wild Growth, I think we might get to a point where people just cut it, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm the same boat. I don't think it'll get played.
I don't either.
I think it might be like I think it might just be like dropped in now and again if tech cards aren't required too much, because like you can still do stuff with it. You can still, it's a more steady like coin wild growth effect to a certain extent. I think there's reasons to play it, but it really does depend on what the actual meta looks like going forward, right? If you want
Right.
spots for tech cards, then these are two easy ones to cut now. So you know, we'll see
Yeah,
how it
I don't
goes
think
out,
it's
I
tech
guess.
cards. I think it's going to be anti-aggro cards you're going to need. Like now that Spreading Plague's a little bit more expensive. You know, maybe
Yeah,
they're-
I mean,
they're
that
Charge
comes
Reapers
under
and,
tech
you
a
know,
little bit for me.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
I think if you're gonna play, I mean, I don't know why you would play this over Infestation, but if you were going the more miracle kind of auctioneer Jade Druid variant, you know, because people used to do that, like I feel like you could still run it at that point if you're going
People
with the
don't do it
auctioneer.
now though because of Infestation. Like they don't.
Yeah,
need the
that's what I'm
auctioneer.
saying. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't have Infestation or something, maybe you'll still run it in that sense.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, more
Yeah.
of a like a free to play
Yeah.
situation or
That's-
something. Yeah.
That's the only time I could see it getting played. I think you'd maybe play like Mire Keepers and stuff like that over it, and
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
kind of infestation list. But like barring like auctioneer, I can't see it really being played.
yeah.
And it kind of leads to the next card, and I think once we talk about Fiery Waraxe too, I think we should bring up the question of, you know, if they're not being played, if they're never going to be played again, then is this really a good change? So, leading into Fiery Waraxe, we've got Allie going to lead this discussion. So, Fiery
Yes.
Waraxe, why don't you describe the change first?
All right, so Fiery Waraxe is now a 3-mana 3/2 weapon, and I've slowly but surely have gotten angrier and angrier about it. I started out with like, oh yeah, you know, it was broken and needed to be nerfed, and the more that I've thought about it, you know, Warrior's hero power obviously gain 2 armor. Like the reason why Warrior you know, is good is because it can manipulate its hero power to use its weapons. Like that's the strength of the class. And so I do think that taking away the best weapon and now making it the worst, because if you compare it to Rallying Blade, Eaglehorn Bow, and the new Rogue card, it's just simply worse. And for Warrior, that's supposed to be a class that's supposed to be really, really good with weapons, now that it has the absolute worst one in that mana slot, I'm just mad. I don't feel like it was as bad as Innervate. Like if they're both staples of the class, like Innervate's a staple of Druid and Fiery Waraxe is a staple of Warrior, you know, Innervate led to much crazier possibilities than Axe did. And I don't feel like it needed to be nerfed. And if they really felt the need, then I think I saw some suggestions from people like they could have made it Enrage +1.
Yeah,
or something along those lines. Like I would have been fine with that, but I think like adding the 1 mana is just it's so dramatic and drastic that I don't know. I'm just really not happy with it at all.
A little too, I don't want to use the L word, the lazy word, but I mean, just adding like they should have added something else to it. Like everything else that's 3 mana, that's 3/2 has text. You know, there's some more value to it. So +1/+1 to a pirate.
Everything else isn't a base card though. Everything else isn't classic.
I know, but even if it is
those
a
cards
base
are gonna
card,
go away.
I mean, they could have done 2/3. I mean, they could have done something different about those cards, so we can't compare it literally straight up to these other cards that are just clearly better. And not to mention, like Allie said, this was like a staple of the class. So things were designed around this card. So
I mean, I'm in the opposite camp.
really? Okay.
I'm just gonna continue to be me and annoy
Yeah.
No, it's cool. No, I like controversy.
That's good.
So-
That's good.
So for me, right, not too long ago, in a past experience, Batstone had a vote of what cards they didn't want playing, and it was a community vote. Fire Waraxe was number 3 total. Number 3 voted. So everyone, not too long ago, hated Fire Waraxe, and to a certain extent, rightly so. It's kind of an insane card at 2 mana, and it has been since the beginning of the game, more or less. What the comparisons of, now it's just a worse Rallying Blade, right? I mean, yes, it's factually worse than Rallying Blade. You can't argue with that. But Rallying Blade also doesn't really go off that often. And the other way round is, well, every other class has had a worse, early weapon, apart from Warrior, who's always had the best for the past 3 years. So is Warrior not allowed a slightly worse weapon at that mana slot? I don't know.
The Warriors do have worse weapons. Warriors do have bad weapons. Okay,
they definitely do.
There's no question.
Blood Raise is a hell of a card, guys.
Yeah, right.
That one's better. Yeah, okay.
They also had a little one called Deathbite not too long ago, which is pretty good. I don't know. I think that this is one of those cards that if it just stayed in the game forever, every single Warrior deck ever is just going to play this card and it will never go away. That's
you forget about Curse Blade, which is nobody in the.
Damn, Curse Blade was great. Straight off Mekkatorque. GG.
Okay.
I think this with a lot of other nerfs that happened are kind of maybe planning for the future where they can actually make powerful weapons for Warrior that are gonna see play, because for the longest time, like you said, Fire Waraxe is 2 of every deck. You don't need to really play other weapons. There's not really any other weapon that contests it. So maybe nerfing this lets them open up and make pretty powerful weapons, even early ones as well. Maybe they can make a 2 mana weapon that I don't know, maybe is like Fire Waraxe or better or something. I don't know.
I mean, they don't have to make so let's get this clear. I'm actually not upset that they changed the card. I'm actually completely fine that they changed the card. I'm not happy of how they changed the card, because when you just for me this card at 3 mana is just not going to be played, and I don't like cards when they get nerfed to be completely irrelevant after they've changed it.
Sorry, guys.
I think we said that. We've said that about every other.
Yeah,
every other 3 mana 3/2 weapon.
They could just redesign this card, and keep the same name and not waste the space. You know what I mean? But I just think that this is just not going to be played anymore.
I mean, I agree with you that it was lazy, but I think it'd still get played. Every other class still plays 3 mana Waraxe, because most other classes don't get value out of it anyway.
Okay.
It's 3 mana 3/2 is still
it's the
stats.
It's the Rallying Blade, right? Are you running Rallying Blade in Paladin to get buffs on all your Divine Shield minions? You just aren't.
Right.
No.
And that happens once in a while, and sure, PogChamp. But generally, you're running it because it's a 3 attack weapon, and a 3 attack weapon is very high value at the moment because there are a lot of minions with 3 health that you need to kill.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not a flashy redesign. Well, it's not a redesign at all, but I don't know. I think it's fine.
For the longest time, Hunter just played Eaglehorn Bow as a 3 mana 3/2 weapon. I think I mean it is bumping it up from 2 to 3 is kind of lazy, but I think it still gets played and maybe opens up more powerful weapons. The thing that I don't like is the timing.
Yeah, the timing.
Yeah, okay, that's
really rough.
Yeah, I don't think because another nerf with Warleader later is they're just nerfing aggro decks to counter Druid, or not counter Druid, but they were good against Druid, and then they're nerfing Druid, but they are also nerfing the Pirate Warrior and Murloc Paladin. So it seems really really weird timing. I would have liked this Fire Waraxe in the future, or Fire Waraxe nerf in the future, but right now it seems so odd.
RDU tweeted me that like basically what you just said. You know, like the timing is bad, which I understand. But my worry is, or my question is, when do you nerf a card? Because what if we always deem we need Pirate Warrior? Do you just never nerf it then?
No,
you know what I mean?
so
And I'm asking. I'm not arguing
Yeah,
against it. I'm just asking. Like timing is actually a very fucking difficult.
I think the answer to that question is that the timing for the Druid nerfs is very appropriate. Like for Innervate and Spreading Plague, very appropriate. I think the timing for the other cards and Hex, Hex just, that could be happening anytime, to be honest. But Fiery Waraxe in particular, they should have timed that. And you can make an argument for Innervate too, but they should have timed that right before another expansion that has support cards to support the 2 slot, you know, and the 3 slot. Like all of a sudden you're introducing a new type of early game for Warrior and then subtracting the Fiery Waraxe. Right now, like, they did, like, what I feel like they balanced going, you know, obviously with this expansion and even before this nerf, centered around Fiery Waraxe being the early game for Warrior. So now, if you take away that, you know, a turn, which is huge, in the Warriors, from a Warrior standpoint, you're talking about the Warrior taking a huge hit. Like, I don't even know what type of Warrior people would play right now. It's
Tall Warrior is looking good.
It is looking good,
Yeah.
but even that is not like the greatest.
Like,
you know,
Danger is still pretty good, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what, like, maybe I think about things a little bit differently, where I enjoy when you just, like, throw shit up in the air and see where it lands and just see what people do with stuff. Warrior might be the new 9th class, right? You know, you say the weapon has that much of an impact,
Yeah.
then sure, it can be the 9th class for a little bit. Like, is it the end of the world? I don't know, but I kind of like sort of more drastic changes.
I like drastic changes. I like them timed more, like planned a little bit more ahead. You know
Sure.
what I mean?
Yeah,
I just think like a lot of people are calling for like, you know, Druid nerfs, and I'm fine with them not nerfing other things besides Druid cards, I guess. But it's just so weird that they would you know, try to nerf Druid because it's kind of oppressive, and then nerf other decks that also challenge Druid at the same time.
Right.
So like Druid probably still continues to be really good. I don't know about oppressive, but still like up there.
It's just unexpected. I just did not expect them to go and nerf all these other cards. You know?
Yeah. They were obviously in the queue. I mean, these are cards that have been, I think, questioned for a while too. So, but okay, let's move on to the next one. So I think it is Ant that has. It's not actually. We're not going in order on how they're listed here. We're just kind of going on our own order. So Spreading Plague, Ant. You wanted to talk about Spreading Plague.
Okay. Okay. So Spreading Plague moves up from 5 mana to 6 mana, and same effect. Summon a 1/5 taunt, cast it again if they have more minions, and yeah, I don't feel like 5 to 6 does very much, because the thing that I thought was like super powerful about Plague is like you can go from no board to like 30 health.
Yep.
Just with one card. So I don't really think that like moving it from 5 to 6 does very much. The thing I think the other nerfs make this played less than anything, because there's going to be like less Pirate Warrior, less Murloc Paladin. There's still probably going to be like Token Shaman, that kind of stuff. So it still probably sees play, but I don't think the mana cost really affects its playability, honestly, because the power, like the effects, is still pretty powerful. Where they have a full board, like you just have 35 health on board now that they have to get through.
It might be like a little bit harder to get off like the combo cards with like the strong skill, scavenger and stuff like that. So I do think it's relevant still, but I do actually agree with you that I just don't feel like it does enough, because the whole issue was that, you know, Spreading Plague helps Jade Druid so much against aggro, and so like is the 1 mana difference really going to make that much of a difference? I don't think so.
I disagree again.
It's okay. It's all right. Really.
Yes, I knew there was a reason why I chose you to be on this episode.
Yeah,
I
it
knew
was
there was
literally it's not because of Hearthstone knowledge, not because of, well, maybe because of good looks, not because of casting skills. It's because I will argue with people, which is weird enough. But I think in terms of aggro decks, like the difference between turn 5 and turn 6 is actually pretty huge. Normally you kill them turn 5, right? There's a lot of decks that get there. Think of, for a second, right? We're going to think of Pirate Warrior, even though I know these two things probably won't coexist at the same time. But like Pirate Warrior, the difference between turn 5 and 6, same with Hunter, you can overrun someone and that can be your end game can be turn 6. So I think the 1 turn difference, because it's 5 to 6, is actually pretty huge. Because what's Druid doing between 1 and 6? 5 turns of hoping they have Wrath, hoping they have Swipe. And it's not like they can innovate into it or innovate into Ramp to get there earlier. They can't as much any moment. So
I mean,
I don't know.
I kind of agree with you, but this is my least favorite card of like the entire expansion. So like,
I think the health could have been dropped.
Yeah,
I think
so the health would have been. I think that would have been actually a better solution, because, you know, the part. So I wish this card just didn't exist, to be honest. But I mean, the reason why I wish it didn't exist is because no matter what you do to it, it's still going to break that hit, like that very that quality about Druid that I feel like is very essential to its identity, which is being weak against wide boards, you know. And like, even if it was like 1/4, you're still gonna fill the board with 1/4s against Shaman, and that just seems wrong to me. Just
no, they bloodlust you on 5. It's fine.
Yeah, right.
To get through a bunch of 1/5s.
Yeah. So, but in the case of like aggro decks, you know, in the examples you were giving, yeah, this type of nerf is better against those type of things. But at the same time, I think if you just would have lessened the health, I still think that would have improved that matchup too.
I think less in the health would have been better.
Yeah, I think so too. So if you're gonna keep this card, you know, I think making just the minions smaller, or making it way more, to make it 8 mana. Like, don't play this card at all.
Yeah.
Or what about even if it just said, like, if your opponent has more minions, create another 1/5 taunt. So don't chain cast it, just create an additional one or something like that. You know, so you can have like 2 taunts versus a wide board or something. I don't know. They could have been more brutal with it.
Yeah. Okay. I could accept that one too. Yeah. I know what you mean.
See, I wonder where they sort of expected this card, like where they expected it to go, because I feel like they printed Hydronox and the Strong Soul Scavenger. Like, I almost feel like they were trying to make like a new taunt Druid archetype, you know. So did they expect it to go in J Druid as an anti-aggro card? I don't know. And but I do agree with you that I just don't like the card at all in general. I just
J Druid didn't even need that. You know, like J Druid needs a weakness, right? Like, I think every deck needs a weakness, and
I think they didn't foresee it, right?
Yeah,
I think they didn't foresee it. Yeah, I think they were trying to do something different with the class and make it taunty, and it just completely buffed the shit out of J Druid.
This is like living mana taunted. I mean, this is living mana with 5 health minions.
It's because the card's too good on its own, right?
Yeah.
If it needed the stone shell dude or whatever it's called, if it needed that to be good, then you'd be like, well, okay, this is like a pretty high mana combo to pull off, you know, and the board needs to look right. But the card just on its own is good enough, which is why it was an insane buff to Jade Druid, and not just like, oh, this is Taunt Druid or Token Druid, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you know, a good example of this card, if you compare it to something that was made before, is Protect the King, right?
Yeah.
Protect the King is
very
similar to this card, except for the stats are way more on this card. And look at the difference. Like, this is blown way more out of proportion. And Warrior has its own bolster and all that stuff too, right? So,
I mean,
it's amazing.
Yeah. Honestly, like, if you look how, I mean, I guess these decks are nerfed, but like how aggro decks are played, which were like make a wide board and like with aggro Druid buff them, or like I guess with Murloc Paladin buff them as well, where you just make this big board. Like this card just becomes Reno Jackson, right? At some point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because that's how they're trying to kill you. Is they're trying to make a wide board, and they go from having lethal on board to like 30 health and taunts. I don't know. It was just so good.
So what health would you guys have been content with?
3 or 4, probably 3 actually for me.
Still at 5 mana.
Yeah, still at 5 mana.
Yeah, like still at 5, and what health?
It'd be completely situational. Like, it would be only good for certain matchups and decks. I'd be okay with this type of card for that, because again, I think it affects the identity of Druid, and I just don't like this card. I would be completely happy if it was removed from the set.
I think 1/2 would be fine at 5.
Ooh.
Because what 1/2 means those minions die next turn to their counterparts on the board, right? Like, even if they're small, it dies. I don't think the card, if it was being kept at 5, should be these minions should soak up 3 hits over 3 turns. You know, it should be this will buy me 1 turn of hits, I need to do something else, you know, to make it happen.
You're basically asking for Protect the King, like same
Sure,
thing. Yeah,
more or less, yeah.
It was the wrong class to begin with. Yeah. Okay, well, that, you know, obviously we'll see if this one gets played. I think the question of whether this continues to get played is the question, you know, the biggest one. And I think for the most part, people will say yes, right? Like,
yeah, I think it will.
yeah,
I think
me too.
like the Warleader, like Waraxe nerf, like hurt its playability more than anything, honestly, than it getting changed.
Yeah. Speaking of which, the Warleader is the next thing we'll talk about, and that one's the one I guess I get. So it's 3 mana, it's 3/3. The text has changed on the Warleader, which is your other Murlocs have +2 attack instead of +2 attack, +1 health. So overall, I like this change. I mean, I think if you remove this from the Murloc cards, just generally, you know, all the different classes that use Murloc, I think you're gonna have to add some more buffing health in some way, Murloc cards. But this card, I think, was a little bit confusing at times as to like what would happen, you know, like with your other Murloc health, and you know, like what if this dies, what happens to the health. So in terms of even just being straightforward, if we're going down that route, if they are trying to, you know, be some more simplistic with that, definitely removing that from this is a good thing. I still think this is pretty good. I still think this card would still be played in Murloc decks, but the health is obviously the next level. I mean, this has always been like it puts certain Murloc cards out of range of removal too. Whenever, you know, you had the right combination of Murlocs, so it weakens Paladin for a lot, and you know, I guess that's what they were trying to do with it, right?
See, I'm happy with this nerf. I'm not happy with the reasoning behind it. Like, I don't like the, well, we want to make it more simple, so let's just take away the health aspect of it. I am content because I do think there are other ways to buff the Murlocs. You've got the 2/3 that buffs. The 5/4 is still amazing.
Yeah.
What's that card called again?
Mekkatorque.
Thank you. Yeah. So like you can still give him Divine Shield, more health. You know, I think there are definitely ways to still have Murlocs be very strong. So I'm so totally content with it. I just don't like the reasoning. Like, let's make it more simple.
I think the simple thing was because the way the health worked with the Murlocs did some stupid shit, right? Like equality, pyro equality didn't clear the board, for example, which is just weird. But I mean, I like this change. I think again, it's one of those things that it feels bad when your opponent just has 1, 2, 3 Murlocs and you lose. Because if you don't have exactly Shadow Word Pain, exactly Frostbolt, or you know, X, whatever, like you pretty much just lose almost all the time with most decks. And it's fine to have like strong curve stuff, but I think like it being awkward with the health, and that's kind of unexplainable, is something that Blizzard seem to run a theme of like simplifying things, right? Keeping it as simple as possible for everyone. But yeah, for me, I don't like getting like 1, 2, 3 by Murloc Paladins, so I'm okay with it.
I think. Are they going to change like South Sea Captain then if they don't want that kind of thing to happen? Because I kind of want to like to see this just go to +1/+1, honestly, because like a big thing with Murloc decks and like those kind of like buff your minion decks with these kind of effects is like you have the 1/2 and then you play Warleader to take like the value trades with your minions and still have a board, and taking that away kind of like, you know, it hurts it a lot.
It hurts
right?
a lot. I mean, it's a significant hit. Significant.
I actually like the is it Cold Light Seer that's the health? I actually kind of like this now, where like if the Cold Light Seer is like, you know, that's your health option, that's your aggressive option in Warleader. Like, I don't know. I think I used to run Cold Light Seer in Aggro Paladin pre Frozen Throne anyway, because I thought the card was nuts. Like, so I kind of like, you know, you got 2 3-drops, one gives health, one gives attack, and also the health is permanent as well. Yeah, which is pretty good. But I
see what you mean by that. I didn't quite look at it like that, but that does make sense too. Just having one option for each, or a different card for which, you know, if you want to go more offensive, or you want to go more, you know, from the standpoint of keeping minions on the board. But yeah, I think Paladin does take a bit of a hit. I think still Paladin's going to be solid, but like we said before, relative wise, it's just everything's coming down a little bit. So
Isn't
anything
Paladin
change?
losing some Murlocs in the rotation? Is it losing Vilefin next rotation? Obviously, this is a fair few months away, but I'm just...
Yeah, I think so. It loses Biofin for sure.
Vilefin Inquisitor, right?
Yeah, it does lose that. It does lose that.
And Grimskill? Yeah, Grimskill as well. They play that.
Well, yeah, those are two. Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. The last one that we have is one that none of us really chose to grab, so we'll just all talk about Hex. So Hex is now 4 mana instead of 3 mana. And, Hex has been a card that I think everybody's deemed probably the most powerful removal transformational card in the game for the mana cost. And it's been good, I think, design-wise that it's cheap because... Maybe because, in reaction to Hex and some of the other ones like Polymorph and Shadow Word Death, they've made early big minions too, with some kind of negative effect. So with an increase into, I think the star removal card, are we going to just not see, Bittertide Hydras anymore and 7/7 4 mana 7/7s and things like that? What do you guys think?
I don't know.
No answer.
Yeah.
This is one of those nerfs I feel like they've been thinking about maybe for a while, but because of the way the meta's rolled out, Shaman's just not needed Hex. But again, like when does Devolve go? I think that's pretty soon, right? Devolve's been in the game for a while, I think.
Yeah.
So again, looking long term, whether they should have waited to nerf it, I don't know. But if Shaman doesn't have Devolve, they go back to Hex. Then does Hex become kind of like, it was a long time ago now, but when Hex was played all the time, it was just the almost the BGH of class removal, right? It was just 3 mana stop anything in the game, which is pretty strong card. It's just at the moment, and in previous metas where Shaman was aggro, it wasn't really needed. But long term, I get it. It feels weird to drop in, just YOLO drop it now. When
YOLO drop it now.
Well, we're so used to seeing nerfs based on current issues, right?
Exactly.
And that's what's actually jarring for most people. I think this is like fine long term and just as a Shaman nerf, but it does feel weird in the world of Druid at this second in time to go, oh, we feel like we should make Hex a bit worse. It's that could be a biggie. That could be a biggie. It just feels weird, right?
Yeah.
It feels like they like answered the I don't know. I feel like they get this question a lot from like casual and stuff like that, and like they kind of answered it like they always go, "Why is Hex 3 mana and Polymorph's 4 mana?" And they kind of just do like,
that begs the question of I'm going to ask you guys, pose this question to you guys: how much of these, maybe the resistance to changing some of these, and I kind of alluded to it in Innervate, really plays into having unique cards. Cards that actually have unique abilities that are not similar, like in another class. So Hex, right? It's not 4 because they don't want it to be like Polymorph. Like they want it to be different. They want it to be, Shaman to have something that's completely different than Mage. So
it is different. It's got -1 attack and plus taunt.
Yeah, taunt's actually a big thing sometimes.
So it's a general question. Like I think that it's been the case for some other things too. So do you think this plays a role at all in the design of cards?
I think a lot of the nerfs, like, they kind of feel like they set it for something in the future for them to actually... Because, like, one thing I thought, for the most part, is, like, that they were trying to get away from, like, super powerful cards in base set and in Classic, and just, like, so whenever they have their new expansions, they can print, like, the flashy cards. Like, maybe they give Shaman some, like, flashy removal now that like the base set is less powerful. Like something you'll see played as well.
I think as well it's probably gonna get progressively harder to design sets of cards in spells specifically, I think, because there are no neutral versions of spells. Like they're probably gonna have some crossover because you have to say a class requires a removal tool, right? That removal tool is probably a spell. There are only X amount of things, at least at any given time, they can make work in terms of hard removal, because it either kills it or transforms it. There is no mind control, I guess. But do you know what I mean? That hard removal, there's very limited options because it's hard removal. So I think that similarities are bound to happen, especially in spells, not so much in minions. I don't think it's the end of the world. There are some cool things like Shaman can't ping off the hex, mage can ping off the poly.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
sometimes
I mean,
sometimes
still a little
sometimes you hex your own minion because you want the taunt. You
Of
know,
course, yeah.
there's there's
the
some
taunt's
stuff.
the biggest thing. Yeah, I mean, it was just like just a general question that I posed. I
Yeah.
definitely wanted to pose. It does sound like that. You're definitely weakening the classic and the basics. That is one of the reasons, to do this. So I think Ben did say in an interview, which we can bring up now, and that he, is answering some questions, some of the reasoning behind why some of these changes were made, and there was this whole discussion about being. These are very disruptive changes.
Yeah, they want 10 cards, right?
Yeah. Wait, what do
Yeah.
you mean? They want 10 cards?
Now that you've questioned me, I feel like I've just dreamt this or made it up.
Okay. I'm like, 10
like-
cards? What?
I'm sure I read something where
Okay.
like instead of there being like 20 plus classic cards and base set cards in every
its
version
set.
of every deck.
Yeah, in the deck.
In every
Oh.
deck, they would rather have like 10 base sets or 10 core class cards,
Yeah.
and then the new stuff, And I think that's what they want. And I Blizzard Chill strikes again. I agree with that. I don't want to see every single deck be 20 cards plus a couple of the new expansion ones. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, even from like new expansion, how many like new cards do you actually see? I feel like one or two. In
Honestly,
most
not
decks.
that many.
I don't
Not
feel
that
like
many.
they do.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So
Yeah.
if they actually just bring the power level down, means you're gonna play more new shit, which at least as a caster is way more fun.
Well, I think as a player, it's way more fun too.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
like we don't. The thing I hate the most is when a new set comes out and people are just literally playing Pirate Warrior and just adding 2 cards to it. Like nobody actually goes and dives. I mean, there's some people, but most of the community, I would say, they don't go like crazy dive into deck teching and trying just absolutely absurd things out. Like with the new cards, because the bases are so good already. Like, why even do it, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And most of the time they're right. It's not that they're not. It's just that's such a waste with some of these newer cards. Like I feel like they are not totally taking advantage of, like from a value standpoint, of all the work that they've done into these cards.
Well,
So-
look at cards. It's reasons for Ragnaros, Sylvanas. It's the reasons they went because legendaries were just not better than anything else that came out. Like Ragnaros was better, Sylvanas was better. So on, so
Yeah.
on. So I think like almost forcing people to play different stuff is great. Do we really want to see? This is actually quite funny because people have got Chillwind Yeti in their HCT decks for this
I
weekend.
know, right?
But
What?
but all I'm saying is, imagine if everyone was still
Yes.
playing.
Oh my
Imagine if
God.
everyone was still playing Chillwind Yeti in every deck. You know what I mean? Like you
It'd be
just don't wanna
boring.
do that. Yeah, you just don't.
Yeah.
wanna-
Yeah, I mean,
But yes, that's
Totally.
true. Chillwind
Yeah.
Yeti incoming this weekend. Don't miss it.
seriously?
I think they're
Come on,
playing
there's
it
got to be
over
something
Blessing
better
of
than a show and
Kings.
Yeti at 4.
It's a 4 or
I think-
5 or 4. Like
I know,
I
but
don't know.
there's
It's
got to
pretty
be a
good.
better version of that, though.
I mean,
Seriously.
now it's competing with Hex in Shaman, so that's a big deal.
Yeah, picking up the floor slot.
Yep.
Oh, the card's good, right? It was
Yeah.
actually just like a really good card back in 2014. It makes the
That's
comeback.
and that's the point, right? Imagine if that was a class card and it just never. It was just always in deck, no matter what. Gets boring, so they mix it up, which I approve of.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people like complain about like when new sets come out, like especially with Frozen Throne, like the power level is so low, power level so low, and it's because like the base classic set is like so high, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Totally. Okay, so
Yeah.
well, go ahead, Allie. Do you have a last
Oh,
something else to add to this?
I guess I just wanted to talk about the concept of Ben, talking about being disruptive. Like I didn't really
Yeah, sure.
understand. Like you touched on it briefly, and he said that we look for win-win situations where we don't want to be too disruptive to the loosely engaged players. And I guess I'm struggling to see why changing stuff really affects the casual players all that much. Like I still think that people will still continue to play Hearthstone even if there are changes. Like I don't really think the casuals will be affected that much. And so,
I kind of am on the fence with that.
Yeah, I think if you think about Hearthstone is actually like predominantly a phone game.
Mhm.
Like I don't
Tablet,
know
yeah.
I don't know numbers, of course, but it's a fucking app, right? You know what I mean? And if some people just log on to a game like that once a day, once every couple of days, and if they log on and go, oh, now my good deck is bad because these 3 cards have been nerfed, they might be like, oh, I'm actually just done with this then, whatever. Like, I'm not saying it's that extreme, of course, but I think for some people it might be, because it is effectively just an app. And they, say they love Warrior, they see this nerf. Waraxe is terrible now. Everyone else's weapons are better, but I don't have any other decks. I may as well stop playing the game. I don't want to pour more money into it, so on. I think that's the attitude they get, and it's very difficult for me to see and understand because I've put way too much money into Hearthstone, and I play the game for like 8 hours a day or whatever. So I think like from a pro's perspective or whatever, it's actually really hard to see. But I think we underestimate how fickle people are, like in general.
That's fair.
No, I totally agree with you. Like Raven, like everything Raven you said there, I totally agree with you, and I think that is the reason. But at the same time, like I think that they can help with situations like that by saying, like, whenever there's a nerf, like Fiery Waraxe, you can immediately have some kind of tutorial screen that talks about, okay, if you had Fiery Waraxe in your deck and you were doing it, these are some of the things that you could try doing instead. Because
that would be awesome.
It's really just the lack of instructional things. Like, what do I do now if I'm a one deck person that only plays 2 or 3 times a day, and I play Pirate Warrior? Now that it seems like my deck sucks now, and you changed a card, now what do I do? So if you could alleviate that situation, then everybody would win, right? Like all the hardcore people that do like disruption.
That's what I would advocate for. I mean, like they already do have something pop up, obviously, when something's nerfed, but a little bit more in depth to like tutorial discussion of when something is changed. Maybe that would help.
To be honest, as well, I think like if you own any of the cards that are nerfed, just give you 10 free packs. Who doesn't love free packs? Let's be honest. They're gonna open those packs. They're gonna. I'm being slightly jokey, but not like they're gonna open that and go, oh, my Waraxe sucks now. But I get to open 10 packs. Like, what new cards am I gonna get? Everyone loves.
Not a bad idea, actually.
I don't know. I feel with like the people who only play a couple times a day. I mean, at least from my experience, from a lot of people that I know who play just like casually or free to play. They don't really care. They're just like, oh, this is nerfed. I'm gonna do my daily and log off because that's what a lot of people do. Just do their daily, log off.
They're not whales.
That's how I kind of looked at it. Like I just don't know how much they really care. But maybe I'm underestimating.
Well, to y'all's point, they're not whales, so they're probably not the ones that spend money either. These super casual people, but
I've hit people ranked 20 late in the season that have like full goldens and like legendaries and shit. So
there are
someone's spending money, ChanManV. Someone's spending money out there.
Like I said, like I think there's plenty of people that are spending money, but the people that play maybe once or twice a day,
sure,
they're probably not the people spending hundreds of dollars each expansion. So if you're putting a lot of attention to that, it's either A, because you want to keep bolstering that installed number. Like that installed number, you just want to be able to tout that all the time, or it helps your ranking, in the stores and things like that. Or, you're, I don't know, or you're not spending time on the right demographic. And I don't think it's the latter. I think there is something else that's going on here that we're not completely clear about. But one thing's for sure. I think they might struggle
with education as well.
Yeah.
How do you explain why a card has been nerfed to a casual? That is very difficult because
that's very true.
But they won't understand. They don't know why Spreading Plague's overpowered or why Innervate was changed from 2 to 1. They don't really understand. So I think the communication from Blizzard's part is a very tough job. Actually, I don't even know how you do that.
To be honest, like I think I've experienced something a little bit similar in another game. I've been playing Summoner's War a bunch, and in Summoner's War, I mean, you think Hearthstone is like pay to win or whatever? Man, that game is ridiculous. Like how the monetization model for that. So in Summoner's War, you have these monsters, kind of like Pokemon, but it's not easy to get monsters. You literally have to buy what would be equivalent to packs. And you get like one good one out of like 100 or 200 or something like that. So many people don't have many, and I'm in that boat. So if they were to nerf one of my good ones right now, it would feel really shitty, like really, really bad for me. In fact, it would affect my gameplay. Like I would be much worse at everything I could do, and I wouldn't have a choice. I'd be like, crap, I need to buy like 200, 400 packs to change the situation. So it can be difficult, and I mean that is definitely a concern, but the pro scene definitely has no sympathy for that at all. And we've seen
Pro scene couldn't give a shit.
we see that on
Like,
Twitter
I mean,
and everything.
I think, like, I don't know. We're in the off season. Like, who cares? Just suffer through it. It'll be better later, right?
Yeah,
I
hope
think
so.
for me, which is crazy, is the assumption that and whoever, not specific people, but I will say the pro scene knows exactly what the meta will look like post nerfs. Like, I'm pretty sure that's a tough call, but apparently they know. They've been there. They've been to the future. They've got a DeLorean. They've gone with the
Okay.
duck. And they've seen what's going on, because like I genuinely think I don't know what it will look like. I don't know what decks are going to be good. Is Hunter going to get better? Maybe not. Is Priest going to reign supreme over everyone? Probably, but we'll see.
I think that's the biggest
I don't
question.
know.
What do you think,
Quest
Ant?
Mage.
What do you think, Ant? Like,
Since like they nerfed aggro decks, I think Quest Mage. You know, that's where I'd put. At least that like makes it a little bit better, because its big problem was aggro decks. And if you take away Pirate
Exactly.
Warrior,
Yeah.
you take away aggro Druid, and you take away like Murloc Paladin, and then like with Priest probably going to be one of the best decks, or if not the best deck, and then Druid being the second best deck or the best deck, like that's just too-
Exodia.
yeah, I could see that
Yeah.
definitely happening.
The weird thing about Quest Mage is it can never be that good, right? Like,
Yeah.
if it ever
Yeah.
gets good, Dirty Rat just comes out to play. And
Yeah,
then you
Dirty
not
can-
just
Rat
that,
and
Eater's
Eater's
very
and all that
good.
stuff.
I mean, there are definitely
Yeah,
parts
exactly.
to
That-
count.
I'd
that's
say
what
for
I
the
mean,
first,
like,
like maybe the first week or whatever, because like I think it's easy to see like at least Priest, because Priest is untouched. Priest is already like one of the best decks in the game without nerfs, and then we're getting a nerf to Druid, which slows it down maybe, so where Priest can win. You know, has
Priest
more
was-
time.
Priest was
Priest beats
that
Druid anyway.
Priest was that bridesmaid or maid of honor that's like ready to like jump into that bride position once the bride gets knocked off, and I think that's pretty much what's happening right now. Like, I think Druid gets knocked off, and then now we're going to see, you know,
I mean-
the new overlord, the priest, Shadow Reaper.
I can also see Druid like still stay really good, because they nerfed Warrior and aggro Druid and Murloc Paladin,
Yeah.
which is all decks that like were good against it. So I could see that deck still being good, but maybe the Innervate nerf slows it down enough so Priest can be the best. And if these two are the best, then at least Quest Mage for a while can be good before they start teching against it.
yeah.
Before my Dirty Rats get you.
You know, I'm not actually sure what I would prefer, like the Druid, you know, oppressive thing that we've had before, or a Shadow Reaper Anduin oppressive era.
Oh,
because
dude,
that
I love
would
Priest.
No, I
Man.
love Priest. I just
Say
don't.
that in a month.
I just don't
No,
love
no,
Shadow
listen.
Reaper.
This is why the Priest meta is going to be fucking amazing, right?
Oh.
So if everyone plays Priest, you get progressively greedier. So what we saw at HCT with the Mirage Caller on Tavellan,
Yeah,
that's
right?
going to happen more
Yes.
often. It's going to be sick. And then also, because Priest gets good, Warlock gets good, and Gul'dan, Suckman is going to get there.
It's
gonna be great.
I think Priest is going to outrace all of them and become just ridiculously good, like crazy good. If that were the case, you know, like if Shadow Reaper Anduin's going to be good, then it's going to be super good.
Yes.
It's gonna be the next deck we all hate, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, there are
As
a
long as
lot of
it's not
cool
Big Priest.
priest decks, dude. I like Big Priest. What's wrong with Big Priest?
Oh, you would.
Oh,
You
God.
would,
Of
Chan,
course
man.
I would.
You would. You and Admirable need to chat. You
Dude,
both
I love Admirable.
and
man.
now I hate you both. So, yeah,
I like
that-
that
that's
Admirable
was
that's
like-
friendship.
I need to have Admirable on this show. I don't know why.
Admirable
we
is
need to do
like,
that one. He's so
oh, this
busy
is-
all the time.
Admirable
Dude, thinking-
we could have doubled. He's literally like a floor below me.
Oh, is he really? Oh man. Okay. Might have to
He-
do it
he
next
would've-
time.
He like takes a screenshot against Big Priest and is like, "This is bullshit." And then the next week, like playing Big Priest.
He loves it.
Exactly.
I've just in like the caster room, you know, like
Yeah.
say Frodan and Kibler are on casting. We're all sat in the room waiting to like watching the match, and he'll just be sat on his phone, and I'm like, "You're playing Big Priest, aren't you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I want Golden Priest," and you know the deck's pretty sweet. I was like, I just give him dirty looks across the room.
I'd be,
Just like,
yeah.
While
Let's
you're
do
losing
it. Let's
race
do
of
it.
Hunter.
dude, it's just
Me and Allie have played our share of Big Priest fans.
I do enjoy it, but at the same time, like I don't want a meta of a bunch of big priests. Like I really don't. Like a fun deck to play here and there, but if everyone's
there's not that much skill involved with playing it. That's the
exactly,
one
you
knock
get
against
barns,
it. Yeah.
you high roll. It's just at that point.
But okay, well, all right. Why don't we move on? So